Today's episode is one which I wish existed when I was trying to conceive or when I was pregnant and even during my postpartum days. Because trust me, no one tells you the real story. There's so much conversation around the baby, but nobody really asks about the new mother. Joining me today is someone whom I have admired from a very long time. Meet Khushbu. She's a birth educator, a lactation expert, and a clinical dietitian. She's helping so many new moms prepare for motherhood in a truly empowering way. Khushbu, so glad to have you here. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Khushbu Arora Gupta. I'm a clinical dietitian, lactation educator, as well as an internationally certified birth educator.
Let's actually start right at the beginning, the before stage. For me, Ayan was a surprise. A very welcome one, but definitely a surprise. So I did not go through the usual ovulation tracking or 2 weeks waiting. But I've seen so many moms, they go through so much anxiety and pressure. And they feel like, it's a monthly exam with so much pressure on symptoms, tracking, hormonal changes, etc. Khushbu, what do you think, what are your thoughts on this?
So, firstly, if you ask me, it is all about the belief system. It's very important to trust your body throughout this journey. And yes, sometimes it becomes very overwhelming, tracking your ovulation phase to eating at what, everything, whatever you eat, whatever exercise you do. People at times get so cautious that, they shouldn't jump, they shouldn't sit in this direction and everything. But I think you should act like a baby to have a baby, because babies are how they are carefree, they are into their own world. That's how a couple should be even during their preconception phase.
Khushbu, do you think does a men's lifestyle also have an impact, during when you're trying to conceive? Do you think there are some habit or dietary changes that even men should take during this phase?
This is very, very important question. And yes, it's very important because it's all about a ovum as well as a sperm. The contribution is always 50-50. So therefore, even male participation is very important with regards to their health as well as their lifestyle. Though people don't accept it, Indian couples are very, new to this concept, but at the same time, men should participate in the preconception phase considering their lifestyle.
So true. I think, Khushbu, I think we need more awareness. We need more conversations around this topic because men have to be equally involved in this process. So, just adding on to this conversation, do you think you suggest actually any dietary swaps that, anybody should take if somebody's, trying to conceive, both men, women? Are there any dietary swaps that they should perhaps try?
Yes. See, it depends on their clinical history, firstly.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, because, the lifestyle we soak in, Garbha Sanskar is something which is very important to understand, which also includes nutrition. So, eating good and keeping your mental health in a very positive manner is very important, because your positive mindset towards having a baby is what is the primary thing, in this phase. So from eating to your mental health and also exercise, that plays a very important role. What kind of lifestyle you adapt and trusting yourself, the belief that it will happen on its right time. It's not a race, that everyone is conceiving and you are left behind. It's not a race at all. You should just wait for your right time to happen. And for that, you need to work on these prerequisites. That is your lifestyle alteration, your mental health, as well as your exercise schedule.
So true. But, sadly, in some cases, some couples, they go through miscarriage. So, how do you think they can, somebody who's gone through a miscarriage, how can they process this emotionally, especially, when the world, they expect them to, move on quietly about it?
So firstly, miscarriage is, categorized into 3 S. One is silence, stigma, and shame. And the shame is mostly taken onto the female part, that she has done something wrong. whereas it is not this way. As I said, it's 50-50% participation from a sperm as well as an ovum, and their combination would have gone wrong, and therefore it leads to a miscarriage. But miscarriage doesn't mean end of this fertility journey. You just have to wait for your right time and prepare your body. But at the same time, you need to also look upon the healing part. Couples are not given that time to heal together. I have seen a lot of times the females are the only one who is pacified, when she cries or she misses, even in the miscarriage journey. But at the same time, even a male or a father goes through a lot of things. He keeps all his attention in healing the mom, whereas he doesn't get any time to heal within himself. So, couples should come together in this loss journey to heal each other and then take up the further step, for conceiving. But at the same time, that pressure shouldn't be given कि अब कब news आएगी या कितने जल्दी हो जाएगा conceiving. No, you should first give that time to heal together.
So true. I think I feel if we just normalized, talking about this, it would just make so much difference. People would feel more supported, more held, and a lot of this would contribute exponentially to the physical as well as the emotional recovery of the mother and the father, as rightly said by you in this case.
Yes, it's a natural concept. If something my body is not accepting and my body knows that this will not lead to a healthy pregnancy, it takes a subconscious decision and the miscarriage happens in most of the cases, which is a missed miscarriage. So, it's very important for the couple to heal together and then lead their journey.
Yeah. I think since we're at the very sensitive topic of miscarriage, would you like to, is there anything, any specific, advice do you have for someone who's gone through this? Especially moms, do you suggest them to, a specific kind of diet? Do you suggest them to wait a certain time before, they try to plan to conceive again? Any sort of specific advice for someone who's tuning in, who's going through this phase, vulnerable phase?
Firstly, give your body some time, to heal. And then you can take up the next step of conceiving, but it depends on your medical history. So having good nutrients is very important, along with doing your Kegel-based exercises, which is very important part of your preconception phase for your uterus to heal. Okay. And the third part is not taking that pressure of that society, that you have to conceive faster and you have to show the world. Pregnancy and having a baby is somewhere down the line like a trophy, which everyone is winning and you are behind. And everyone wants to go into that rat race. No, you're just having a baby for your, your couple or your marriage. It's not something to be published into the world. Nobody will, after 1 or 2 years, you have to do that parenting thing. So it's better that you take it one day at a time and work as a team together. That's very important.
Khushbu, we've glorified so much about pregnancy that, it's supposed to be a very glowing and a magical phase. But honestly, in my third trimester, there were days when I was so overwhelmed. People would come up to me and, ask me that, are you excited? Are you happy? I was like, yeah, but I'm also terrified.
If you ask me, this concept, we put it into tocophobia. That is fear of pregnancy, which comes in the first trimester. The fear that, ye pregnancy bahut healthy chale, or else, everything should be good. And it comes back in the third trimester where the mother is now, how will I raise the child? I am so tired. How will be my breastfeeding journey? In fact, frequent urination comes back. Also, your constipation comes back. So the mother is hustling during the phase again. So it's very important to make mother understand that this is natural and it happens to everyone. But it's just that people wants to just glorify one aspect of it, but there is the other side of it also.
So Khushbu, exactly what should mothers be preparing themselves for, in the third trimester, which is, of course, labor is approaching. What all things that they should be actually, you would like to, a reality check of what is coming ahead?
Yes, it's very important to understand firstly your stages of labor, also what is false or true labor, as well as the nutrition you should put onto yourself into this phase. It's very, very important to make, to eat well, because your blood sugars as well as your BP goes up and down during the third trimester, is where you get to know also through your blood work.
Yeah.
So, you need to have a good nutrient into your diet that will prepare you also for the postpartum as well as breastfeeding phase. And even your breathing as well as your physical exercises, they play a very important role to give you a positive birth.
Any specific, nutrients, now that we're talking about it, that, pregnant mom, especially in that third trimester, they should be including in their diet?
They should drink or hydrate themselves a lot, drink lots of water. That's very important because constipation comes back since your uterus is pushing the intestine.
Yeah.
Also, avoiding sweets because your blood sugar levels can spike. And at the same time, having lot of fiber. Even after your 35 weeks, include dates, because it is full of oxytocin,
Yep.
which helps in contraction. But a disclaimer, take into consideration your dietitian advice if you have high blood sugar levels. So she will balance it out. But in general, you can have dates during your third trimester because it helps to boost oxytocin.
I think talking about dates, I'm just, faintly remembering my time, I was told by my mom-in-law to have, start having dates, start having ghee, closer to my delivery date. So do you think any of these, dadi ke nuske and all the things that, that have been passed to us by generations, do you think these things work? And, I remember I had read raspberry leaf tree, curb walking. We did so many things to, to induce labor. Do you think actually some of these things actually work?
Yes, if you ask me, some of the things do work, like curb walking, dates. But at the same time, having too much of ghee is also not good for you, though they say that the passage becomes very easy then.
Yeah.
But the lifestyle we are into, we are already on a higher BMI side. So that is not the thing now. But having a good fiber diet as well as good nutrients is what is very important. And doing physical activity, that is really very important. Even your sitting posture plays a very important role because it helps to, in your postpartum to heal. Your tailbone pain and everything comes back after your pregnancy. So the posture which you have during your third trimester is very important for your postpartum healing as well as during your labor.
Any specific tips that we're talking about, labor? What are some, 3 top of the mind tips that, you have for, pregnant moms to prepare them for labor?
First, hydrate yourself and have good protein because that helps to keep your amniotic fluid index on that good level. Secondly, follow your exercises. They are really very important. Your cat and cow pose, as well as your curb walking. These exercises or your Kegel based exercises are very important. The pelvic floor exercise, which you call.
Yep.
And the third one will be the bond between you and your husband.
Yeah.
It's very, very important during your third trimester because soon you're going to enter into a parenthood phase and that's lifelong. Yeah. So it's very important to be with each other in your third trimester, be each other's support. And, even if your husband massage your leg during the night time, it helps you to create that bond between you, your child and your husband. So that is very important.
Yeah. And Khushbu, what is your take on birth plans? I remember I was in Canada and, closer to my third trimester, my gynecologist told me to prepare one. And that's actually when I got to know. My sister was pregnant around the same time in India and she had no clue what's a birth plan. So do you think actually they work or are they just, there to add extra pressure? Do you think they're really needed?
Birth plans are really very important concept. In fact, it's a very new concept which even I teach in my labor management classes. It helps you in decision making. It helps you to take decision for yourself. Though you need to consult your birth educator as well as your gynac at the same time, but it also helps you to take a decision for yourself during your labor journey. So birth plan is like a checklist. If plan A doesn't work, how about the plan B, and what should be your options. So a birth plan is a very important concept.
Khushbu, there's so much chatter happening around hospital bags. And, while I'm extremely happy that, to see that moms going all prepared for their birth, but, I actually coming it from an expert like you, I would want to know, is there like a practical checklist of the must have things in the hospital bag for a pregnant mom?
Yes, three main things you should carry in your hospital bag, which nobody talks about. First is lip balm. It's very important because your lips become very dry through doing those breathing exercises. Second is carry a sipper. It's very, very important because you cannot drink water through, gulping it. It's better you have a sipper with you. And the third one is you created this baby in a very calm environment. So when you welcome this baby into this universe, the same environment is very much needed. So having fairy lights, because it increases your melatonin, which eventually increases your oxytocin, and that leads to good contraction. So fairy lights are very important.
Khushbu, I think talking about, labor, talking about, trying to conceive, pregnancy, and, finally we come to the topic that's not spoken about, that's postpartum. I delivered Ayan in Canada, and, right after he was born, I had the privilege of having a lactation consultant, visit me at home. She helped me with my latching issues. I literally remember crying down, breaking down in front of her. And, she reassured me that, listen, you're not doing anything wrong. Breastfeeding is just hard. It will get better. And I'm so glad it did. But, ever since I've come back to India, and I've had conversation with a lot of moms here, I feel there's not enough conversation happening around this here. Why do you think there's such a big gap? Like, why is, breastfeeding or even postpartum not spoken enough about? And why is there not much awareness about, lactation experts in specific?
Yes, breastfeeding awareness is there. Like you should go for exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months. That is there. But at the same time, the direction in which a mother should go, that is very vague. That information is very vague in India. And nowadays, I always tell my clients also to pick up hospitals which promote exclusive breastfeeding and where they have a lactation consultant. Okay. So that helps to understand your child and to take this breastfeeding journey very smoothly.
Khushbu, talking about breastfeeding and, specifically lactation experts in specific, do you think, is there any, like, I'm, new to India and, I'm sure a lot of new moms tuning in, everybody struggles to understand that, okay, how do I find the lactation experts, or, how exactly, how do I know that person, this is it for me? So how do we exactly scout? Like, do we go via the gynec route, or is it recommended, as you mentioned, by hospitals? Like, what is the process of accessing a lactation expert in India?
So during your labor management class only, your birth educator will explain you that it's very important in your third trimester to get an appointment with your gynec and to talk about the breastfeeding phase.
Okay.
Also, your gynec will bring into loop your pediatrician as well as your lactation expert. So she will be the one who will introduce you, or else your birth educator will introduce you. And breastfeeding is something like, it's between the child and the mother, and it's a demand and a supply thing. So that's very important to understand that the demand and the supply phase can go up and down initially, but once you understand your child, you will sail through it.
Yeah. And, talking about breastfeeding and, what do you think about, some kind of foods that, I keep seeing internet is swamped with, everybody is trying to become a breastfeeding expert by telling us, okay, this food will boost your milk supply. And, I also remember in my experience, I followed my mom's advice and, I followed my lactation expert advice. He told me to have, some specific foods, there's dalia, there's lots of protein. I was told to have X amount of things, and I think they did help me in boosting my milk supply. But I think overall it was just, the demand supply, as you mentioned. But do you think, are there any foods that actually help in boosting your milk supply? And if yes, we would love to know what those are.
So a lot of time, green leafy vegetables, garlic, then your saunf ka pani, these all, even oats, are regarded as galactogogous food.
Yeah.
But the concept, the scientific reasoning is your amniotic fluid smells like these, food things.
Okay.
And when your baby is inside your womb, that smell register because the nose is the first sensory organ which is active.
Okay.
So when you eat these kind of food like your saunf ka pani or oats or garlic, the baby latches more because he can or she can sense that fragrance or that smell. And therefore it increases the demand and supply game. So it's not, the milk production is not just dependent on these food. It is 1%. But at the same time, the concept is because of that fragrance.
That's a very interesting insight. I'm very intrigued to hear that. But I think talking about breastfeeding, of course, it has its own challenges, and once you figure that out, I feel it's the most beautiful thing that I personally have experienced. I've breastfed my son for more than 2 years, and I think it was definitely demanding, but it was at the same time very bittersweet when it ended. So Khushbu, what are your thoughts on long-term breastfeeding? Now that we are, of course, we've talked about challenges, we've talked about the foods that help in boosting our milk supply.
Wow, that's really very nice to know. Breastfeeding for the first 6 months should be exclusive, no doubt. Whether you have a vaginal birth or a C-section, in both the cases, you can go for exclusive breastfeeding. Again, it depends, the kind of support you have. That is very, very important, but you can do it. And after 6 months, then either you go for expressing or else you can go for, with the other weaning food, you can take it side by side. But as long as you and your baby is comfortable, this journey should be taken ahead. No pressure at all, because then eventually it will put you on a mom guilt or a postpartum depression. That shouldn't happen to anyone. So if you have a good support system, take it as long as you can.
Yeah. I think it totally depends upon, your support system, if you're planning to join back work. Like I was obviously working remotely, so it was more comfortable for me to, to feed him and, at my own convenience. I think breastfeeding, of course, it goes hand in hand with postpartum. And, I have this one specific, it's actually a more than a question. It's something that I'm really angry about, that, in postpartum, why do we center everything around the baby? And, why does the mother suddenly look and feel invisible to everybody around? Like, I've personally been through it, and, why is that case? Why does that happen actually?
So during my labor management class, I always instruct my dad-to-bes that after your wife have given birth, you be with your wife and let the nurse hold the child, because that feels so encouragement for the mother,
Yeah.
It feels like she is there, she is visible. And that's very, very important to make her feel that she has done everything, and her efforts or whatever she have gone through, that should be recognized, Support system is very important. Yes, you have to take care of the newborn, but if you don't give that attention to the mother, at times she feels jealous about her own child.
Yeah.
That I've seen. One of my clients, she was not happy at all after giving birth. She used to look at the child in a hatred mode, and I will not judge her, because that feeling is very natural. Just because she was not getting, like, past 6 months, she got the whole attention from everyone.
Spotlight, yeah.
Yes. And now everything, that magic goes in 1 second after the baby is out in the world.
But I think it's more important for women also to start advocating for themselves, especially new moms. I know, we have a habit of, going into our womb and, just getting caught up in those, overthinking and those thoughts. But how can actually women, ask for more, more support, especially without guilt, especially during these postpartum phase? How can they do that?
Firstly, understand that you have to be not that perfect mother. You just have to be mother of your own child. That's it. You don't have to be a mother on Instagram or any other content, viral content. You just have to be mother of your own child. So make mistakes. It's a new phase, right? You are understanding your child is understanding you. So you will make a lot of mistake, and that's part of your parenthood or motherhood.
Yeah.
Secondly, I also explained this in my labor management class, that it's very important that the mother makes this rule in her birth plan that you shouldn't bring a gift only for the child when you meet them for the first time.
Oh.
Bring a rose or else a breastfeeding nightie or anything, any one favorite fruit or anything which she likes. Bring for her. That is where, this small thing would help her to have that attention that she is also important in this journey.
But that's such a sweet thought. I wish somebody had, shared that with the people who visited me during, and my son, when he was born. Because I clearly remember that, once the child is born and I remember I share my birthday like in the same week with my son. And actually everybody forgot my birthday. They were just calling in to check on my child and hello, I'm also there. I just felt so invisible. It's just like I disappeared for everybody. But coming back to again the first 40 days, of course, you're healing, you're on complete bed rest, but some very 3 basic food habits or food things that they can include so that they can gradually just on that recovery road.
Hydration is really very important because you breastfeed your child, so the mother gets dehydrated. Okay, so firstly hydration. Second is having lot of high fiber diet.
Yep.
Because you can go through, because of dehydration. Again, constipation is one of the major thing that happens during your first 40 days and even after that. So either you go through a C-section or a vaginal birth, a high fiber diet is very much needed. And the third thing is having good protein in the form of, your pulses. If you're a vegetarian, you can have it in the form of your dals or paneer or dairy. Like you can have a glass of milk, low fat milk, I would say. Or else you can go with lean, non-vegetarian items like chicken, grilled chicken, not with too much of spices, but a bland food would be great.
Khushbu, I think let's talk about the dads now. Like my husband, he's a very hands-on parent. He's very actively involved in all the parental duties right now. But, back in the initial phase, it was so tough, to actually advocate for myself that, hey, I need help. Hey, this is where I'm struggling. Because, there was a point when I felt like I'm the one feeding him. I'm the one who's been up at night. I'm the one who's rocking him to sleep. And, there are times when I literally broke down in front of him. So, how can actually dads be more involved in, postpartum especially and in the postpartum recovery of a new mom?
So usually, Gunjan, I keep this rule that my birthing classes are always over the weekend so that the husband or the father-to-be can participate. And, it's very important to make them understand all the concepts rather than the mother because she's juggling with a lot of things. It's a new phase for her, though it's a new phase for both of them. But a support system of doing little things like, just cooking for her, not a very small thing, not a big thing, but giving her a glass of water while she's breastfeeding or burping the baby. These little gestures play a very important role during the postpartum phase, and father's role is very, very important.
I remember, I'm just so emotional right now because, I remember I was pumping also, I was breastfeeding also, and my husband used to just clean my pumping parts. And trust me, watching that whole thing, it used to make me so emotional that I have literally cried watching him wash my pump parts. But yeah, I think coming back to the point that yes, I think fathers do have a very, very, very important role to play in the recovery for a mom. I think now that we're talking about, partners and, husbands specifically in this case, when the baby is about to arrive, what are the few conversations, that, both the parents should have between them, as a prerequisite to set the foundation of the new phase that they're entering in?
The main thing should be that they will be a couple lifelong, no matter they are now parents and they're getting into a new phase, but they will be a couple always.
Yeah.
And in parenthood, whatever mistakes they make, they will be together, they will learn
Yeah.
and lead it ahead together.
Yeah. And for any fathers of new moms watching in, any advice do you have? You know, anything to make to make for the pregnant wives or for the new moms?
I would say exercise with them
Yeah.
and encourage them to get back on track soon. It's like, you divide responsibilities so that even she gets back on her routine, her diet, her health. And if you support them, they will take it very smoothly.
Yeah, I think I also remember my first I went back to gym because of so much motivation from my husband. I think he's the one who constantly pushed me, even if it was once a week. It was only because of his support that I was actually able to take out that 1 hour, because you trust me, taking out even 1 hour from your day during those first 6 months of your with your child, it just feels like a Herculean task. So yeah, I think kudos to all the fathers who are involved in active parenting, and all the fathers who are helping moms get back on their feet in postpartum phase. Khushbu, I want to share something that's very close to my heart. I had friends who had delivered via C-section. They were made to feel like they failed. So, why do you think this sort of thing exists with any kind of birth that a mom has? Like, any birth is, it's actually eventually you're giving birth to a child. So why is there so much disparity with the kind of birth option that a woman chooses?
So females are always made to understand that they have to go through pain or suffer, whether it's a vaginal birth or a C-section birth, both birth are a positive birth. It's just that through classes or awareness, couples need to understand, or the mother needs to understand, C-section is something where required. It's a positive birth, but we need to understand in what situation it is required. So that is also a part of birth plan, and you are not less of mother than anyone else who have taken vaginal birth or epidural or a C-section, even elective C-section. It's her call. Let her take up a decision for herself and her body. Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of it also contributes from the people around you. Like, we need to let go of so many people. Like, I remember when I delivered my baby, the first question that everybody was asking my mom or me or my in-laws was, natural hua ya fir C-section. I mean, this is not a topic for gossip or kitty party discussion that how the woman delivered the baby. Eventually, everybody should be happy about the fact that the baby is here and the mother is fine. But I actually want to know from you that how can a mother release herself from all the stigma and all the shame that comes, that if she takes whatever birth that she chooses. I think in this case, with all the stigma that's associated with C-section, how can a woman just let go of all that stigma and shame?
Again, this is part of my birth plan program with my, pregnant couples, that once the baby is arrived, even if anyone asks you कि लड़का हुआ है कि लड़की हुई है, the first question is this, and the second question is vaginal birth हुआ था या C-section हुआ था. You will not disclose. You will just say कि बहुत अच्छा birth था. Nobody even asked कि mother कैसी है, how is she feeling. So I keep this rule with my, pregnant couples, that you're not going to answer it for the first 40 days to 6 months at least, so that the mother heals and later you can discuss your birth story. So that will, ease out the pressure which the mother has.
But, talking about the birth story, what exactly makes a birth experience, positive?
A positive birthing is something where you have taken decision for yourself. Even like if things go wrong, you should know what is plan B. And you should understand that this is a journey. I will make mistakes and I will learn through it. So whether, even if you had a first C-section, you were into that perception of having a vaginal birth. It's okay. You had a C-section. Now what? Now I should focus on my healing aspect. I should take my medication on time. My breastfeeding journey should be taken much more seriously. My postpartum recovery should be taken much more seriously. Now this episode is done. You cannot do anything. What about later? Like, in your postpartum journey, now that need strict attention, I would say, and support system you have. So, divide duties and make people understand who are into your environment, like your in-laws, your parents, your siblings, that whomsoever will ask you, you don't have to discuss anything. You just have to say that the mother is good, the child is good, they had a very good birth.
Same, I think in my case also, like, my labor was crazy. It was, 18 hours and, really tough, I would say. And thanks to having a birth plan, I was able to advocate for myself in the hospital that, okay, if I want to labor on a peanut ball or I want to labor lying down, I want in a specific position. So I think, again, coming back to the fact that how important a birth plan is in today's time. And, and in my case, my birth story, my birth plan didn't happen as I had, envisioned in my mind. So of course I had a lot of trauma related to it, that, because I'm a very planned person. So, I, for the first, 4-5 months, I had so much challenge in, making myself understand that the birth didn't happen as per my plan. So, for someone who's tuning in, who's watching, who's had a very traumatic birth experience, emergency C-section, like for instance, how do you think, what suggestion would you have for that person? How can they let go of that experience and come out of it?
Good support system is very, very important. And making first understand, whenever you take any classes also for birth plan, involve people around you.
Yep.
It's not just between the couple. You can involve even your parents or your in-laws, because they become the first person or the first mediators.
Yeah.
Right? So involve them, make them aware about it, so that it helps for you to heal and understand and accept that, okay, fine, I planned in some other way, but it happened in a different way.
Yeah.
Now what? Now we need a support system which helps me to heal through it.
Khushbu, adding on to your conversation, I think in my case, I also felt that, talking to a lot of people, like, I joined a local mom support group, and eventually, talking a lot to so many people about it, that eventually one fine day I woke up, I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't make a big difference in my life than it did 6 months ago. So do you think talking to other moms or talking to perhaps, external help, a therapist maybe, do you think that also helps? Do you recommend that to moms who come consult you?
Yes. Talking about it, expressing it as much as you can helps a lot. Even I recommend color therapy to my postpartum mothers, because it helps to vent out those emotions which you have. Journaling helps a lot.
Yes.
And even taking professional help. It is very important to take, except that, it's not something you can say that ye sabke saath hota hai, we'll sail through it. No, you have to find intervention and support to go through it, and how you will come out of it.
Khushbu, now I think as we're approaching the end of this conversation, I want to talk about you. Back when I was in Canada, I had heard so much about midwives, doula, and, eventually that's when I realized the important role of a birth educator, and considering, in India, how a lot of moms are actually open to the idea of, having a birth educator lead them through the pregnancy as well as postpartum. How do you think how your journey has been, and where do you think is the maternal health industry or maternal health in general in India, leading up to, and what is your vision?
Awareness is needed. Actually, I was a clinical dietitian, but my journey to become a birth educator started when I went through a miscarriage. And I saw that, I was just like a guinea pig, just juggling from one hospital to another. And after this episode, it just made me realize that I wish, though I was from a medical background, I knew everything, but still when you are on the other side, you feel vulnerable. And that's where my journey of becoming a birth educator started, so that I could empower other females around. And it has been now 3 to 4 years, and I'm into this journey. I enjoy with all the mothers around me. And it's like, a gynac as well as you. And I would tell you one tip, that please consider yourself as a client, not a patient. Motherhood is all about, you're a client and a health professional approach. You're not a patient anytime, please. And we act like a mediator in between so that we guide you, we help you, we connect those bridges to give you a positive birth, not during your pregnancy, but even in your preconception phase.
Khushbu, considering, the multiple hats that you don, you're a birth educator, you're a lactation expert, you're a clinical dietitian. How does all this, differ from a gynecologist? And, in what role of pregnancy in a pregnant mom's, journey, where do you come in picture and where do you fit in?
See, India is a vast population, and, when you see the ratio between a health professional and patient or client, it's 1:1,000. So, gynacs don't have too much of time to discuss throughout the day with you every minute details, like, from taking into consideration sex, position, what to eat, what not to eat. People find few questions as silly and the couples don't ask, whereas those questions are important. Yeah. So, sometimes I feel shy to ask those questions also. Yeah. So we become as a mediator or a bridge between your gynac and help you in every step from your preconception till your breastfeeding phase. Very minute details, very minute questions like sitting down, is it safe during pregnancy or not? Yeah. Or even sneezing during preconception or pregnancy is safe or not. So, these questions are not silly. They are important to understand, and we make a couple understand these minute details.
I think the fact that here, of lately, with the internet and with, all the involvement of, fathers also in pregnancy, I think that has also played a big role, that, people are going above and beyond of the advice that, our moms have given us, and we are open to hearing from an expert. But, it again brings me back to the question that why exactly are these, because, I'm coming from Canada, these things are so accessible and they are a prerequisite. But, here in India, we are not told to go beyond a gynecologist. Why are these basic things like a doula or a midwife or a birth educator or a birth plan, why are these mainstream things, are they missing from, the whole maternal health in India?
Lack of awareness. That's the only thing. People are not aware that, there is something called as a birth educator or a doula or a lactation expert. If they were aware about it, even when I meet mothers who are into their postpartum phase, and when they come up to me, they just tell me with guilt, I wish I knew that time.
Exactly.
So awareness, there is lack of awareness.
I think same case. Now I'm just faintly remembering a conversation with my, elder sister. She delivered in India, and, while I had challenges in my breastfeeding, in my milk supply initially, and I had access to a, lactation expert at my home. But back in India at that time, she did not. And eventually what was she told by the doctor? Okay, if your supply is, rock bottom in your second month, give formula. And she was never encouraged by the gynecologist to actually encourage seeing a lactation expert, and this is such a sad and sorry state of affairs actually. So where do you think like the gynecologist is, I agree, of course, you're talking about the doctor to patient ratio, and has a vast population, but don't you think it's the responsibility of the gynecologist to actually guide the patient in the right way? Like, why will you recommend the mom giving formula and not seeing a lactation expert?
Because everyone wants to go very easy and quick. That is the thing. Nobody has that patience to just work slowly and gradually. And therefore, again, the same awareness is needed in the profession of gynac also. We work with them, we sit with them, and we formulate things now. Whereas past, it has eventually now evolved in past 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Before that, when I was doing this course, my mother asked me one day, "Ye hota kya hai?"
Typical mom.
Means like, I made you a clinical dietitian. Now what you're doing and what is this all about? In fact, till today, she has this guilt that she pooped during her labor time.
Oh,
And I told her that this is natural. Everyone does it. She said, no, ye maine hi kiya tha. And I was so surprised that even she doesn't know till date that this is natural and this is a very good sign that the birth is
she's not
happening.
healed. You know, the sad part, how many years she's not healed from it because she did not speak about it. So, you know, coming back, you know, again to what you do and, you know, if what kind of support, like, of course, you've talked about, you know, lactation, birth educator, somebody who's into the postpartum phase. Beyond breastfeeding, is there any other support that you offer to new moms who are tuning in and watching us right now?
I conduct a lot of workshop apart from providing diet plans. So I conduct my preconception classes, early pregnancy classes, labor management classes, and even postpartum healing. So we work with clients or couples from their preconception phase till the time they deliver and during their breastfeeding also phase.
Last question, Khushbu, before we call it an end. I think if someone who's tuning in right now, if they're just starting to prepare for birth or, you know, they're planning to have a child, where should they begin?
I would say that believe yourself. Okay, that is really very important aspect in your preconception to your delivery phase also, that believe yourself. It's a phase. Let the universe decide the right time to you. Your main agenda should be, your goal should be to prepare yourself for everything. I would just add on a small thing over here. कि जब हम शादी करते हैं, so either we go for a love marriage or an arranged marriage or you know a mediator जो हमारे लिए decide करता है या कुछ भी, हाँ बिचोला, or else through these so online apps. Okay, what our goal is to have a happy marriage where we as a couple tune with each other. Same whether you have IUI or a natural birth or you have a natural conception or IVF or any, you know, intervention you have used, C-section, vaginal birth, anything. You just have to understand that everything is a positive birth and it's a positive journey to meet your child.
Yeah.
Don't compare your journey with anyone. It's your journey to meet your child.
Khushbu, thank you so much. You know, this conversation was, I think, everything that I needed 3 years ago when I was trying to have my baby. And, you know, thank you for your, you know, kindness, your wisdom, and all the amazing work that you're doing for moms out there.
Thank you so much for inviting me. We had a great time and hope we have exchanged a lot of experiences and knowledge.
If you're trying to conceive, if you're pregnant, or if you're in the thick of postpartum fog, I hope this episode makes you feel seen. We'll be linking Khushbu's Instagram handles in the show notes. Please go follow her. You'll learn, you'll unlearn, and you'll feel held. Thank you so much. See you on the next episode.